Hey there. Are you tired of waiting for the next episode of It's Probably Not Aliens? Well, we've got some good news for you. On Nebula, our streaming service, you can get access to all our episodes a week early. That's right, you'll never have to wait again to hear Scott and I debunk the latest ancient astronaut theory or get a movie fact wrong. But that's not all. Nebula is home to dozens of content creators we know you like, so you can find all your favorites in one place. Plus, we post content on there that you won't find anywhere else. And the best part? By signing up for Nebula at nebula.tv/probablyNotAliens, you're directly supporting the show and both of us. So don't wait any longer. Join Nebula today and listen to the next episode right after this one.
Are you talking about Meshtastic at all in your video?
Yes, that's LoRa. LoRa is the technology, it's the thing that Meshtastic uses to, LoRa means like low frequency radio waves.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So yeah, Meshtastic is it's like a decentralized radio network thing where each Meshtastic thing connects to the next thing. So everything can kind of like be brought. It's like I can't really describe it. It's a decentralized radio node network that allows for sending encrypted messages across it. It's kind of a prepper thing, but also considering its accessibility and encryption, it could be useful in protests and has been useful in disaster relief efforts.
Yeah, because it's like,
but then
it uses low frequency radio waves, which means that they travel for long distances, but they're not very fast. They can't encode a lot of information, so it's just like text messages. But you can send these without the internet and without cell phone towers. So if, say, you lived in an authoritarian regime that shut off your internet and also cut off your cell phone service or was monitoring those things, you could use Meshtastic to send direct peer-to-peer without like any ISP or platform to say what you're doing to the FBI or something like that.
Right.
Phil is always a few degrees away from being a prepper, so
I'm one more firing and a bad weekend away from becoming full prepper.
I don't even I think that, I mean, especially if you like live in Florida where like the state is like dunked underwater like once every 3 or 4 times a year. But like,
that's just being cautious. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that I think like what people like, there's 2 kinds of preppers. I made a video about being a prepper too, because there's preppers who are like, the apocalypse is going to come and I'm going to have a pile of canned beans and shotguns and that's going to get me through everything. And those people are dumb and kind of weird. But there's the people who are like, I should have the skills and supplies and knowledge so that when, say, like, I don't know, say we get hit with a disease that kills a lot of people and the government kind of just abandons everybody.
Yeah, sure.
You'll be prepared to take care of your community. You'll be able to put your thing together. And that's kind of more, like the kind of prepping you want to do, like learning how to make food out of plants and like,
having skills that will help with everything, with everybody, like finding some skills that you can do well, so that you can work with a group. Because the people who want to lone wolf it aren't going to last very long.
No, there's a really good. Do you know Cory Doctorow?
Yeah.
So Cory Doctorow has this really great short story collection that I read a number of years ago that I think is called, let me find it. It was really good. It's got a handful of really good short stories in it. Radicalized.
Oh, okay.
And there's so many, there's like a one where a superhero that resembles Superman attempts to take on racial justice and in the American policing system, but then it leads to like the American government sort of framing Superman as an immigrant and like turning anti-immigrant on him. And then there's one where like this building has subsidized rent, but you have to use these kitchen devices, and all the kitchen devices only use pre-approved food that you have to buy from the store or something like that.
Of course. Yeah.
Right.
But then the devices, like the company that owns the devices, goes out of business and bricks all of the things in their kitchen.
Yeah.
And so the whole novel is, or the short story is about this young girl who figures out how to jailbreak them and like does secret jailbreaking of the building stuff. And
Right.
yeah. But the one I was thinking of was
That's all.
it's about a doomsday, like a kind of wealthy financier who builds a doomsday vault and kind of watches how all of the people who do like the prepper stuff, their lives fall apart and they all die, while like the people who just kind of try to rebuild are the ones who survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. As a follow-up to, so the person who recommended me Meshtastic, she followed up days later, posting a picture from Reddit. The topic was from the Meshtastic subreddit, and the topic says, "My wife called Meshtastic Tinder for Linux users. I'm never going to emotionally recover from this." And then she followed up, "So I guess beware the downsides of using Meshtastic."
It'll ruin your life. Mark my words.
That's
Tinder for Linux users. That's amazing.
It's not inaccurate. Oh, this is a podcast called "It's Probably Not Aliens."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is a podcast called "It's Probably Not Aliens," where we do pseudoscience, pseudohistory, pseudoarchaeology, and basically conspiracy theories in the sci-fi genre. And yeah, my name is Tristan Johnson. I'm the main host of this, and Scott, the one whom knows nothing, is not here. He is too busy having. This is gonna be the first episode after the last Scott episode. So to give you an update, Scott had his baby. Well,
Yay.
Emily had the baby. The baby's happy. It's a happy, healthy little person. I get images all the time, or I get the occasional image and video. So everything is going well. Scott's having a great time. He's doing well. But this is the beginning of like kind of the next 8 episodes. I have a series of friends of the show and rotating guests. And to cap it off, friends of the show who have been on the show now several times, I think, but never with me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
this
is my third time.
My second time.
Phil's second.
Yeah. And that is the Pixeliters themselves, which that sounded a little bit like a slur, but
we're making new ones. Get ready.
You guys are from the states that do that, so you come. Yeah. But yeah, Kevin and Phil of the Pixelit podcast are here to kick off Paternity, the Paternity season.
That's a good name for it, the Paternity season. I like that.
The Paternity season, and I'd like to say that me and Phil are bringing double the knowing nothing this episode.
True. That's what we do here.
What's 2 times nothing? It's nothing.
Still nothing.
It's just still nothing.
We're gonna multiply by 0 twice. The only people who ever figured out how to do it.
Yeah. You're welcome, world.
So one of the things we're going to try a new little segment to kind of start off the show. And that is, I'm going to show our know nothing side of the show a contextless image of the thing we're talking about. And then they have to describe the thing that they are seeing and see where that goes. So you guys are going to get an image of the thing we're going to talk about today and see what your impressions are. I'm going to put it in the Zoom chat. That's a thing.
Yeah. Zoom chat. Hey, okay. Clicking on that.
Shit.
Okay.
Oh. Is this an actual photo?
So please,
is this real?
This is a real photo. So you have to make a word picture for the people who are listening on this visual medium that is podcasts.
Yeah. I'm seeing crystal clear blue water. The word might be limpid, which is it's not a good word for the kind of water that it describes, but I think that's what it is, right, Phil? Limpid?
I'm not familiar with that particular word. You're on your own.
Okay. Limp.
The kind you see in like vacation, like tropical vacation.
Yeah, limpid, free of anything that darkens, completely clear.
Okay.
Anyway, it's tropical, fun, awesome water. All right, and it's Bach. It's go ahead.
It looks like a bunch of stone. You start out with some stone walls, It looks like a flooded city or something like that, because you've got these tall
Yeah.
walls that are clearly going around it. But inside, you've got what look like the foundations of a bunch of houses, but they don't have any walls or roofs, and they have vegetation, it looks like, growing in
Yeah,
them.
I mean, for those video game heads out there, it's pretty much New Londo. You got to drain the water here in order to. It's the New Londo ruins.
It does. It looks like a
from
legend.
Dark
Yeah,
Souls.
it looks like a Legend of Zelda level. It looks like the Water Temple's top half.
It's a water
Yeah.
temple. It's a water temple from your Legends of Zelda, or your Darks of Soul.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a
You're not
D&D
as far
map,
off
that's
with
for
the-
sure. I want it.
There are several like levels of separation, but you're not too far off with the Dark Souls thing.
Nice.
So this is this is a place called Nan Madol. It's located in a country called the Federated States of Micronesia,
Okay.
which is like a kind of archipelago country in the Pacific Ocean. And it's it does seem like it looks like a sinking city.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about today is that this made by are these magnetic stones that have been levitated by sorcerers or something? Is this, or if we were to go by Ancient Aliens, is this the remnants of an ancient civilization that was the site of experiments of human-alien hybrids,
Right.
that they then culled? Because the kind of theme of this season is called the cull, which is that this idea that the aliens have been managing the human population, or fucking around with our genetic code or DNA, and so is that
Which
what this
is wild because we do that plenty on our own.
Yeah. You don't need help.
We got microplastics in our DNA. Shit. Yeah, it also, you know what? Now that you mention it, it looks like this is actually, I'm changing my answer. This is actually like a alien helipad, like a top dock. Like
you're leaning into it. Okay.
I'm going to lean in because I think that's what we need right now.
This is one of those sites that, when I lived in Savannah, I don't believe in ghosts, but Savannah's a very haunted place. And when I would go out and drink, and I would walk home half crocked at 3 a.m, especially when it was hot, that's when like the mist, like the werewolf mist, would start like kind of pouring out of whatever, and I would have a moment of like, oh, I get it, I see, I get it, I understand why people like look at this shit and go, oh, that's ghosts. And I could look at that and and you immediately go, oh, Atlantis, great, got it, all right, that's so.
So tonight we're recording this in the evening, but the story today is about Nan Madol and the strange claims about it, and also the interesting lineage of the claims that involve a kind of like circular thing. And I think that the big one is like a strange thing in ancient astronaut theory where we have to dip in and out of literal fiction, where how literal fiction inspires things. And then we'll get into one of the most influential shitty authors of all time, who is a great author and a shitty human being, who both has heard about this site and also inspired the way Ancient Aliens wrote about it. So,
I thought you were talking about me for a second. I was blushing.
Oh no. Okay, but the first thing I'm going to try by making the absolute strongest case that Ancient Aliens has for Nan Madol, and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So, in the episode, what you're seeing here is a series of 92 artificial islands built on a coral reef that was made by moving 250 million tons of basalt stone, which I will just mention is Ancient Aliens' number, not ours. Each of these were made with moving individual columns that some weighed up to 50 tons. And to quote from the episode, these stones were, of course, too heavy for primitive people to move using traditional methods.
How move big rock?
Yeah.
How move big rock? Yeah, we're back here again. But also, they said that if you take a compass and you take it to Nan Madol and you put it near the stone, the compass goes crazy. The basalt is magnetized and it has a kind of energy vortex. So there's a lot of impossible construction. Mainstream archaeologists would say that this was built between the years 1100 and 1628 CE, but maybe it was actually made between 11,000 and 20,000 years ago.
Sure.
And that it was a pre-global flood city from a lost civilization.
This is the city that they're writing about when they talk about those global flood myths. This is the one right
of
here.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
And that they point to other underwater structures as proof of older sunken levels. So that's claimed too, that it's really, really old. And 3, the builders. So Pohnpeian, Pohnpeian is like the culture that built this. Pohnpeian legends speak of twin sorcerers who are named Olsipa and Olsopa, who used flying dragons to move the stones. And Ancient Aliens obviously reframes that these were misunderstood flying machines or flying saucers.
Sure.
And that these strange visitors and the sorcerers were giants from the stars that built the site. And that the ruling dynasty called the Saudeleur dynasty is treated as later squatters, not the original builders.
Okay.
Yep. And the last one is that this is the result of some kind of failed experiment. That the civilization that made it was intentionally culled by the aliens or abandoned because it links to other global megalithic site as part of a kind of parent culture that was abandoned in a sort of mysterious collapse. So,
you know what? That all checks out. Like, it could be all of them at once, too. You know, why choose one theory when all will do?
Yeah, they all build this story that, like, this site was constructed by advanced technology or aliens, and that also was destroyed as part of the aliens' managing of our species. The last episode we talked about was about the Toba catastrophe, where they made a volcano erupt that caused all of tons of humanity to die out. So this is the big part. This is based on an episode called Alien Devastation. So it's all about claims that aliens have been causing mass death to move things through. So that's what we're gonna get into, and I guess we can start with the claim that nobody knows who built it or how, or the sort of impossible construction.
Yeah.
And I reached out. I reached out to literal experts at the University of in the University of Miami and stuff like that, who are actual experts on Polynesian history and I talked to archaeologists who write archaeology stuff about this site to kind of get some real stuff. So this is what I talked to. I talked to Glenn Peterson is one of the people I reached out to get some information about this site. And I learned quite a lot about who's at CUNY. Okay, so according to Pohnpeian oral tradition, they claim that the sorcerers Olsipa and Olsopa built Nan Madol and not the Saudeleur dynasty. That's the but Peterson, who is an anthropologist who's worked with the Pohnpeians for decades, said that the Saudeleur did not build Nan Madol, that these people did. But none of the oral histories report that they are engaged with the construction there. So the Saudeleur are this dynasty that sort of inherited and used the site but didn't create it.
Right.
And that matters because archaeologists originally, when they looked at the oral traditions of the Pohnpeian people, kind of overrode this tradition to fit their assumption that only a centralized sort of tyrannical dynasty could have built such thing with mobilizing that kind of labor.
Of course. That's my favorite thing is when you get these old-timey archaeologists just being like, impossible. It had to be these people instead.
Well, isn't that
it's like
isn't that basically what
that's kind of what the aliens folks are doing?
But isn't that even basically what we're looking at with these protests and activists and that sort of thing. Like the argument from the right is always like, they couldn't possibly have just come together and organized it on their own. There must have been paid to do it or working for the FBI or the CIA or something.
Must have been George Soros. Right. He's at it again.
Yeah. And this is like a long thing because like archaeology and history to a degree, history definitely to a degree, but like they have this uncomfortable, in anthropology, have this uncomfortable relationship with colonialism. And one of the things is that, and it is methodologically more complicated, but for a long time, like we didn't engage seriously with the oral traditions of the people who lived there as like historical records of things that happen. And, you know, it needs like interpretive work and there's all sorts of stuff to do, but it still has like, it's I'd say like newer, people have been doing it for decades now, but it's one of those things that like we need to be doing more of. And if you actually talk to the site, you can see that before they basically would have claimed it's less like these other people could have done it, but more that like they couldn't believe that people could build such a thing unless there was like centralized authority, like a kind of like something that looked more like a government or something like that.
Yeah.
So how do we know how old the site is? Unlike Ancient Aliens, they used real processes instead of saying maybe it's actually 20,000 years old. Citation, I don't know, but
show your work.
Yeah. But the anthropologists at the site did had their own kind of ways where they did things like uranium thorium dating, looking at the coral that was used in the construction that show that the major building phases definitely happened between the years 1180 and 1200 CE. So, you know, medieval times. And that so about the same time that Europe was having the Crusades and building the cathedrals. And that there were two major construction phases, one from the 10th to 11th century, and then another at its peak, which is the 12th to early 15th century. So, like, you know, the 1500s, and then which would put a very long way from it's here's like the 1100s and 1200s is very far away from 11,000 to 20,000 years ago, which would be which would require looking at Ice Age cultural layers, because when you're getting to the, like that far back, you are getting into the Pleistocene, and
you're getting into we need a geologist instead to figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too is that this shows a kind of this like speaks about how they didn't really have a strong appreciation for like how feudalism and labor worked in the Pacific. So we're going to learn a little bit about the political system of the Saudeleur dynasty.
Nice.
Yay! I don't know who they are, but I'm excited to learn.
Okay. So in this region, ruling Pohnpei was this like Saudeleur dynasty that ruled from roughly 1100 to 1628 CE. They had a thing called, they had what's called tribute-based extraction. So, and this shows up in a lot of different cultures, but like, if you had power over another town or village or people, or you had like commoners that were under you, they would owe you seasonal tributes. Like, so like they, like instead of paying like taxes and money, they were required to give you stuff. You think in like a feudal system in Europe where you had to give up like a percentage of your grain to your local liege and stuff. Usually it was seasonal food. So in this region, it was like things like taro, yams, and breadfruit. But also it was labor. And the system then got escalated over time from a seasonal tax to almost constant extraction. So the oral histories describe that there were people who actually lived as slaves, with some communities actually facing starvation because of all this extraction. And that Nan Madol wasn't so much a city as it was a control center where the district chiefs were forced to live under like constant surveillance.
So it was like a kind of a prison-ish.
Have you ever heard about like one of the reasons why Versailles was made in France was because the king wanted all of the important people and all of their kids to basically spend all of their time worried about courtly shit at Versailles, and kind of centralize the power of the state under like King Louis XIV.
Got it.
So it's kind of like an attempt at like state building in a different sort of legal apparatus.
We want everybody in one location.
Yeah. Or everyone with power in a place where you can see them.
Yeah.
And they used organized labor because, again, part of their taxation was not just food, but it was like labor, like a kind of corvée system or something like that, where they would take, and we saw this with the sites we've seen in Inca as well, that like people would be required to spend a period doing labor, and part of it would be to be building these like, you know, tools of oppression or whatever.
Right.
But the way they did it is pretty well known. They use rafts, they use leverage, and friction reduction and organized groups. One of the biggest things that I thought that was really crazy with this is that one of the ways that they would move these large stones that required less work is they used the tides. Like they would quarry the stone at high tide and then let the lowering tide do like a lot of the work of like moving it around.
That's cool as hell. Okay. Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like we have seen experiments with similar weights of stone that have been able to do this. Like at Easter Island with the Moai statue, we've gotten 100 to 200 people able to move 20 to 40 ton stones on sleds using prepared surfaces, or my favorite bit, moving them like a big refrigerator where you kind of like, you know how when you kind of walk it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the thing is that the Moai or the sort of Rapa Nui natives had a like a kind of thing about how like these statues walked to their resting place, and then they're like, oh, like they actually did a kind of like walking motion because they were moving it like the way you'd move like a heavy object like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see. And also, yeah, just like once you get these stones onto a raft, because they had bamboo and bamboo is very buoyant, weight was less of an issue than like stability.
Right.
Yeah. And I also reached out to Mark McCoy, who's an archaeologist who knows about this site. And the quote that he said about it was that feeling awe doesn't mean we've hit the edge of human capability. It just means that the builders succeeded at what they were doing, like trying to make something that, because as I said, it was trying to be a symbol of like the authority of this dynasty. So they also, that is also a part of it.
Right.
And the thing is, we can actually like show where all of the stone came from, and it didn't go very far. Like it wasn't like a Stonehenge where it's like this traveled like 1,000 miles. It's very locally quarried and locally transported. So we've used X-ray fluorescence to analyze the basalt columns to specific, like we know like the exact places where these things were taken from.
And it really wasn't that far away in the grand scheme of things. Like,
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's like building a pillow fort in your bedroom instead of the living room where you got the pillows.
Exactly. And like there's this showed like this was a systemic process of like, you know, breaking down the site and understanding the data and like using experiments to answer how this happened. But the thing I really want to kind of point out is that like Nan Madol is supposed to give you a feeling of being overwhelmed. That's basically the entire idea of what monuments are supposed to be. And so, yeah, you're supposed to like kind of feel small. And that is part of like, it's not just like this, it's not just like a construction, but it's like a political technology. They want you to feel the weight of their power, and it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, 1,000 years later, we're still impressed by it. So the Pohnpeians took a sinking reef flat, figured out how to make 92 artificial islands using tidal patterns and coral rubble engineering, and created a city that lasted through centuries of storms, sea level rises, political upheaval. That's some insane human ingenuity in very specific and strange environmental and political conditions.
Yeah, it's amazing. As we're talking, I'm like pulling up some other pictures just to see some other angles. It's really fascinating. It kind of reminds me, and this was not in the same location, but it reminds me of some of the architecture that was in the latest Indiana Jones game. They actually had some buildings similar to this where you kind of like went along on a raft between different stone structures, and it reminds me of that a little bit.
I mean, that's probably not even incorrect, because like this was very influential, and Indiana Jones was influenced by sites like this, like the kind of like, or should I say the like pulp serials that Indiana
Right.
Jones was based on were based on, like, inspired by reading about things like this.
Right.
Could there be an argument based on what you're saying, like the idea of creating the monuments are meant to inspire awe, they're meant to make you feel small. Could you make an argument for the idea that these ancient alien guys who look at this and like try to attach this grandiose meaning to it, that actually is part of the purpose, that's actually success on some level?
They made it so impressive that then you combine that with racism, and then they're like, "This is so impressive that we don't think you could have done it."
Right,
Like,
right.
"Aw."
Like it
Yeah.
I mean that it's a shame, but at the same time, instead of looking at it the way we would and saying, "Wow, humanity is amazing. We've created so many cool things over the years." They take it in a completely other direction and go, "It's too much. It must be the gods or aliens or something like that." I don't know. It just feels like maybe some of the people involved would be like, "God damn right, you thought aliens did it? Yeah, no, me, but very cool." Like,
The place that I was thinking of is Sukhothai in Thailand. It's a kingdom in the 1200 to 1300s. That had similar buildings in some instances. But yeah, not like around the same time and similar-ish part of the world. So
yeah,
makes sense.
And again, this is all like one interpretation, as I kind of mentioned really early on, that like when I talked to like Glenn Peterson, that the oral tradition might suggest that they also didn't build it, that they inherited it and used it, but that the construction of it might have happened even before them. But then we're getting into like stuff that we're not 100% sure about. We don't know, like again, this is an ongoing mystery that that archaeologists are working on. And there's been a lot of developments when it comes to like ground penetrating radar and drones and like all sorts of stuff like that are really starting to make progress on really understanding the site in a bigger and better way. But yeah, then also Ancient Aliens doesn't just like, get the who and when wrong, but also misunderstands what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing, they write that the city mysteriously collapsed or was abandoned, like an Atlantis story, like a flood story. But we know what happened because it's part of a existing culture's history. And that is that the Saudeleur dynasty didn't vanish. They were overthrown. There was an uprising. Like, that whole centralized extracting from everybody, people being like leveled to the point of feeling like slaves. Turns out people don't like when you do that, and it resulted in an overthrow.
They hit the cool zone, and anything can happen in the cool zone.
Exactly. They got into the cool zone, and there's this warrior named Isokalekel, who is this sort of like semi-mythical but historically grounded figure. I compare him to like Spartacus almost, who led a coalition that defeated the last of the Saudeleur rulers and basically caused a regime change. Again, though, this is the other part where it's like, maybe the mystery's thing, because also there's not that much support of it being popular, but that the outcome was more, I'm trying to think of how to figure. It's not so much that like this was like the people rising against the tyrants, like that is sort of a modern interpretation of it, but more of a matter of decentralizing the power. So it was just trying to get the power away from like a single authority, instead of like, like the People's Revolution or whatever. And like this, very recent research has shown like that there's a lot of like real environmental and political pressure reasons for why it happened. In 2022, we had a paper that came out that showed that Pompeii is sinking approximately 1 millimeter a year, due to like island scale subsistence. Like it's happening. And when construction began, the site was about a meter higher than it is today.
Oh wow!
So keep that in mind. And then also the El Nino Southern Oscillation cycles cause periodic flooding and storm damage of the period. So we see here that it wasn't like that they didn't know how to do it or anything like that, because up to 38% of the coral dated from the second construction phase was in seawall compounds and basically was focused on this constant cycle of repairing and maintaining this thing. And as the sea level rose, the ruling class demanded more and more labor to maintain it. And the population was drawn to this cycle of investment and protections from coastal disasters, which eventually became an unreasonable burden. And so they refused to keep doing that. And the Saudeleur lost their legitimacy through that kind of excessive extraction and environmental pressure. And Isakekalal's victory sort of represents a political change in the structure of this culture. And yeah, and that led to something that's called and I really apologize, I do not speak anything close to the languages of the people that are here, but it caused something called it put in a new sort of political regime called the Namwarki system, which exists to this day.
Wow.
So it's like the restructure of how power worked in this region, where instead of having a central ruler, authority was more distributed amongst like chiefs, like high chiefs.
So yeah, it seems like that centralized government really bought into the sunk cost fallacy.
Good night, everybody.
The most literal example of that I think I've ever heard. Yeah, and these chiefs are called Namwarkis, and so according to Peterson from his email, the very strength of the Namwarkis is meant to divide up the land and the people in order to create countervailing checks and balances that would prevent any one usurper from gaining control over the entire island again. So it's intentionally made to prevent centralization and centralized authority by keeping things in checks and balances. You know, like America was theoretically supposed to have.
Right, in theory.
Hypothetically, yeah, theoretically, yeah.
So it was an intentional institutional design against like tyranny. I wrote, it's like Anarchist Praxis in the 17th century.
Right.
Yeah.
So Nan Madol then eventually was abandoned as a political center, but then it gained a new use as a sort of ritual site. So it kind of gained more of a spiritual importance. And this is the kind of part that ancient aliens can't see, because their entire worldview requires civilizations to either rise under strong leadership or collapse into chaos. So they can't imagine something like deliberate decentralization as a political achievement.
Right.
And so they built a system designed to make centralized authority impossible, not through failure, but like kind of like as a learning thing. And the mysterious collapse erases one of the most sophisticated example of like an anti-authoritarian political philosophy in the pre-modern Pacific.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is so much more interesting than whatever, theory that the aliens guy comes up with for it being aliens or whatever. I mean, the idea that these people were able to they were so far ahead in their political thinking that they did a speed run of tyranny, no, anarchy, and then landing on that and keeping it for however long it was. How was it been 300 years, 400 years now? That's cool. Aliens aren't cool. That anarchy's cool.
I mean, if there were aliens, that would also be cool. But
sure, sure.
But
it would also be cool.
But it is fascinating, and it also, to me, this is like one of the many, 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 many examples out there that the whole idea of the tragedy of the commons isn't real. That it's sort of a thing we just made up to justify hierarchies. But that they were able to distribute power, because I fall under the anarchist political flag fairly often, and one of the common things is like, well, how do you prevent a tyrant from just taking everything over? And it's like, you have to structurally put it in place. Like there's ways that it happens. This is like an example of that.
Right.
And the other thing too is that as we kind of get into the next thing, like we've talked a little bit about how there's like engagement with the oral traditions of the Pohnpeian people, and we have to be careful about this, but like, because oral tradition it's a complicated thing to engage with archaeologically, but one of the things that they would use is that the oral tradition says that it was made by sorcerers and dragons and shit,
Sure.
So therefore aliens. But the Pohnpeian oral tradition maintains that the twin builders used magic to fly the stones into place, and uh, again, reach out to the experts. Peterson wrote that for the most part, though, people today still maintain that magicians flew the blocks into place. They have never encountered Pompeians debating the veracity of this. It's kind of that's very much established amongst the Pompeian people as the explanation. But also the oral tradition's a little bit more sophisticated. It's not just like this one, these two people flew it into place, but actually speaking and learning about the different oral traditions of the Pohnpeian people, they have compiled at least 13 different recorded versions of the founding of Nan Madol. Different clans on the island tell different versions, and different regions emphasize different details. Again, there are many contradictory versions of the tradition, so it's difficult to use them to underpin any single theory about what happened, which is, in many ways, might be also part of the anti-authoritarian epistemology, because it means that there's no single true story about how it was made, so nobody can kind of try to claim it, or leaving it a mystery makes it more complicated.
I was going to ask, is there like a subtext to that oral history? Where does the does the sorcerer actually mean, the twin sorcerers does that mean something else? Does the dragon refer to something else? Or is it, or it's like what you just said, where, yeah, it's a mythological no one can claim it. None of the chiefs now have claim over this place. No one can take this place because it belongs to nobody but these mythological figures that we created.
It's speculation, but if they did develop a political order that was explicitly about making sure that no individual had too much symbolic power or too much power over anything, then having the oral traditions be intentionally contradictory and kind of mysterious does add to that decentralizing thing.
That's brilliant. I've never heard of anything like that. That's really, really cool. Where even your fables and your history and that kind of thing serves to emphasize that need for decentralization. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's some fucking Bene Gesserit shit.
Yeah.
It's a big fuck you to Ayn Rand.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And we do need more of them.
Yeah, we do need more of them.
I do love saying fuck you to Ayn Rand.
Oh, yes.
So none of these ideas cancel out each other. So it's just, this is the way that meaning works when you're talking about things symbolically. That the Pompeian oral tradition has a magical explanation that isn't failed science or correction, but it's more of a symbolic truth about that coexists with practical knowledge about the engineering and organization of political history. So it's kind of like a category error, where they'll take something that is seen as symbolically true and then use that as something to say that's literally true. And so, and also denies even that, because they'll say, you say sorcerers flew the stone. You must not have understand how stones move. Let us explain, with science fiction shit.
It's when an alien comes down with an anti-gravity cannon and lifts it over your head. That's how it works.
Yeah.
You idiot.
But yeah, the Pohnpeians aren't confused. They're holding multiple valid frameworks, and ancient aliens can't see that because they only recognize one kind of truth, which is literal material causation. So then they take, and this happens a lot in ancient aliens as well, they'll take a magical element and then strip it of all of its cultural and symbolic meaning, and then repackage it just as evidence of alien intervention, which is cultural strip mining. It really just has no respect for the indigenous knowledge and history and culture and stories of these places. But I'm just kind of but I am just blown away by the sophistication of maintaining plural histories about a single place.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I kind of dig it. I think it works for them.
How is it that aliens are more interesting to some people than that? It's like you were saying, Kevin, I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well, and that's the thing is I fall squarely in the I want to believe category. I had the poster on my room, a big X-Files fan. I want to believe, but the thing is, a lot of times the aliens folk tend to boil things down into just this it's this stew of milk toast sci-fi
Yeah.
bullshit. Like, well, we have the 12 races of aliens, and we have the whites, and we have the tall whites.
It's just Dungeons and Dragons. It's just
or the Nordics, and we got the lizard people, but hey, the lizard people are actually from Earth, so be nice to them.
We're doing an episode later this season that's about the mantis aliens, which is also
okay.
fun.
Love that.
But yeah, I'm very much under I am also in the I want to believe camp, but in the sense that like it's a statistical impossibility that there isn't anything.
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
whether my issue is not whether or not aliens exist. It's like by the sheer law of large numbers, they exist somewhere. But it's are they in any way a distance that we can have any kind of actual communication? Could they
space is so big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they have come, they have left no actual
Right.
if they left and we were going to make the claim for it, they would have to have more evidence that that couldn't be explained with other things.
Yeah. Space is so big, time is so long, and you gotta there's I'm trying to remember who spoke about this, but there's this idea of the windows of time where aliens exist, and the regions of space they exist in, where it's like, oh yeah, there could have been a sentient alien life form similar to humans, but it died off 30,000 years ago, right?
Mhm.
They had their entire evolution, rise and fall already, and then here we are, the human. Like, we just missed them in the blink of an eye, in terms of space time, right?
Yeah.
But we missed them, and we're never going to find them. Stuff like that. And and I think that's the thing is people often just forget how big space is. The closest star system to us is what, 4 light years away, I think.
Yeah, I think approximately
Something like that. So it's like and that's
Actually,
4 years at light speed.
You want a really good example? Voyager 1, which was launched in the 1970s and is currently the fastest moving man-made object, I believe, and also the furthest man-made object from Earth that currently exists, and has been basically leaving the solar system for the last 50-ish years. In November of this year is going to get to 1 light day from Earth.
Oh my God!
Wow,
that's crazy.
I think it was either 1 light day or 1 light hour. But
wow,
just
a fraction of a fraction of a fraction at that point. That's
space is fucking huge, man.
Dude, that's cool as hell, though.
Yeah.
There's so much space in space.
Yeah, and so but yeah, back to Nan Madol though. The real sophistication is just that they were able to do that. So that's the real Nan Madol. Medieval Pacific feudalism, organized labor, resistance, knowledge systems, no aliens required. But here's the thing, though. The idea of the aliens, that the way they wrote about this culled civilization and this sunken city did not come from these people. It came from other sources and has a very specific genealogy. And so shit's going to get dark for a little bit. But first, have you guys ever heard of a product before?
Can you spell it?
Can you use it in a sentence?
Yeah. Okay, I'll use it in a sentence. I would like to take a short break to give some attention to the brands that make the products and services that support this show.
Oh, I still don't know what we're talking about.
It's also multiplication.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
All right. Let's do a quick ad break. So I want to figure out where some of the framing that Ancient Aliens used, because like they had their whole thing of like denying the indigenous people, like the Pohnpeian people's story of their own history and their own politics. But like they then added a whole bunch of random details. And I want to know where that kind of framing came from. Like, why was this a failed experiment? And you have to look into where the inspiration for that was. And this is where like some odd stuff comes in, because it takes inspiration, because Nan Madol has been inspiring people and as people have been writing about it. But like we need to talk about like how Ancient Aliens does like a weird thing where they take literal fiction and also things like occultism and then sort of blend it into real things to make the odd.
Oh, we're gonna take some random bits and throw it in that bullshit gumbo.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna get good gumbo going.
And just like a good Southern gumbo, this also has a little bit of odd incest. So,
Sure. You gotta have that. Otherwise, the roux doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't thicken properly.
Oh my god. Yeah, welcome down to Lannister barbecue. Okay. So the idea that Ancient Aliens is pushing forward about this failed experiment and like the cull and like the humans messing with things can all trace itself back to what should just be the topic of an entire It's Probably Not Aliens episode, because I just refer to it so much, which is the Theosophy movement and its occult leader, Helena Blavatsky.
Helena Blavatsky.
A recurring character on this show. I always am like, I should make an episode about her. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Behind the Bastards already did an episode about her. And I don't know if there's any. I'm already sometimes described by people as a like diet Robert Evans, and I don't really want to leave that too hard.
Oh yeah, it was a couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so Theosophy is this like late 19th century occult religious movement that Blavatsky founded with the claim that she found some real hidden wisdom about cosmic evolution. But the big part about it that got really sophisticated or got really like popular and adopted was that she developed this idea that all of humanity came from these root races, and that there were 7 sequential civilization that occupied different continents and then fell to like another one. So like each root race represented a stage of our physical and spiritual revolution or evolution. So you had Lemuria, the third root race, Atlantis, and then the current one as of the time that she wrote, which was the Aryan race.
Aha! There it is.
Yeah,
There it is.
And earlier races were portrayed as being in somewhat degenerate or spiritually inferior, and that the race will rise. And the main thing is that what they'll do is as they get more powerful, they'll mix with other races, become corrupted, and then get wiped out by some kind of catastrophe. That then the survivors would be the seeds of the next higher race. Which one creates a strong intellectual scaffolding for the idea that some populations are just disposable.
Oh, yeah.
That naturalizes idea of like doom and culls as part of like a part of the human story.
Right.
And that entire civilizations can be seen as evolutionary stages that somehow become obsolete. Instead of like, you know, people who lived and done that, like a race can serve its purpose and collapse.
Yeah, it's a real guidebook to racism.
Oh, yeah.
She seems to be real codifying of it, like pre-phrenology too, right? This is before phrenology was all the rage, right?
Same time,
Or
I think.
around the same time. Okay,
Fucking trailblazer, man. Damn.
Yeah. Specifically, when it came to the Pacific Ocean, she referred to a civilization called Lemuria or Mu. You might have heard of like the lost civilization of Mu, like a lost continent. That it was like this lost continent that supposedly sank and left only scattered islands. And Nan Madol and other sites in the Pacific often got treated as surviving fragments of Lemuria.
cool.
So even then, so like this is like part of how Ancient Aliens got its weird story about it comes from, you know, Theosophy seeding this idea that it was part of a lost civilization.
Ugh.
So to get kind of started though, that was like, I don't know if she actually believed in her own, if she was high on her own supply or not, but Helena Blavatsky nominally is thought that she was writing about something that was real. And at least the people who read it were like the people who read it and believed it were reading it with the idea of thinking it was real.
Right.
So the osophy gives us our structure, the cyclical, disposable civilizations, races, resets. Now watch what happens when a brilliant horror writer writing explicit fiction takes that structure and then takes out the mystical language, and then Ancient Aliens sort of takes something inspired by Nan Madol that takes something from Nan Madol, then somebody else takes something that was inspired by the thing that was inspired by Nan Madol, and then we just have this kind of like incestuous loop. So
yeah, we got a real thing, and then we got an abstraction of theosophy, and now we're getting a layer of just straight up fiction on top of it.
And then it goes back to Ancient Aliens, which is then
Ancient Aliens
used to apply back to Nan Madol.
Right. And you just blend it all together, and you get yourself a nice pie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we then have to talk about the person who inspired a lot of Ancient Aliens lore, despite the fact that he was explicitly a fiction writer, and that is Mr. H.P. Lovecraft.
There he is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Good old HP.
And that Lovecraft
not Harry
is
Potter.
And the fact that this episode has an H.P. Lovecraft connection, I believe, is the reason why you guys chose this episode to do. So we're gonna do some Lovecraft talk. So here's like the pipeline of trying to connect things. There was and I talked to a Lovecraft scholar named S.G. Joshi, who wrote like a really big book on Lovecraft.
Cool.
So in 1918, H.P. Lovecraft read a book by A. Merritt called The Moon Pool. And in The Moon Pool, the story explicitly talks about a place called Nan Madol, like Matal, which was like a slightly altered spelling of Nan Madol.
Uh-huh.
No one will know.
Yeah. And specifically writes about it having Cyclopean basalt architecture. And I just need a pause to explain what the term Cyclopean means, because it has a bit of it's a very ancient alien. It shows that like the Greeks also got into Ancient Aliens. So
Yeah.
the term Cyclopean means like something that is like built with like not carved refined like raw stones, but is like very big, because like the Greeks believed that those people couldn't have possibly built that thing. It must have been done by giant cyclopses, basically.
Right.
So that was their version of aliens. There was like ancient cyclops.
Yeah.
With like,
I feel like Lovecraft also fucking loved the word cyclopean.
Oh, yeah, he used it a lot.
yeah. Well, yeah. And I was like to say, what is the Greek version of Georgios Tsoukalos? And I'm like, oh, it's Georgios Tsoukalos.
Yeah. Still there.
So just imagine an ancient version of him in a toga trying to explain how like
and instead of aliens, it's
Cyclops.
Cyclops.
Yeah. Fast forward a few years, and we get to 1928, where in a slightly well-known story by Lovecraft called "The Call of Cthulhu," he writes about a sunken Pacific stone city called Erlia, which uses the same Cyclopean language that like Merritt used that applied to Nan Madol. Now, I will say, very, very importantly, that every Lovecraft scholar I talk to says that there is no textual evidence at all that that H.P. Lovecraft took explicit inspiration from Nan Madol for this site. But he did read about this Nan Madol in the story, The Moon Pool, and probably knew that Nan Madol existed, just given his like proclivities and interests.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no like thing of him writing like, for Erlia in the Call of Cthulhu, I explicitly took inspiration from this site. So I'm doing a little bit of circumstantial evidence here, but
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of like went into the went into the stoop. Maybe I'm hungry. I keep saying food stuff. It went
you're Cajun hungry.
He's going,
it's the gumbo, it's the stew.
It's the gumbo, it's the pie.
It's really like a crab boil of ideas.
It's a real crab boil of ideas.
Which is appropriate because a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stories had the bayou in them. So there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I did a TikTok the other day about how creativity works, and I said like creativity is very much like having a wide variety of interests that you just read about, and then your brain makes unexpected connections years later that you didn't even know.
Yeah.
So this is definitely like we definitely know that Lovecraft knew of the existence of this, and there's some like similar types of things. But it's a place in the same sort of Pacific location, same massive stone architecture, and same underwater or sunken elements, but adds that there were non-human builders and that there was a theme of because the thing that made them decline was something similar to, say, what Helena Blavatsky would have said would have led to the end of Lemuria, which was race mixing. So this is the part that, I feel like, so I feel like I have to get into this. I have to mention this, but it's also like extraordinarily well-known knowledge at this point. So H.P. Lovecraft was extraordinarily racist, even for the time he lived in.
Even for the time he lived in, he was a world-class racist. Just, it's...
He had a cat whose name was the N-word.
Yeah. He was... If the racist Olympics were being held in the 1920s, Lovecraft would not be invited because he wasn't an amateur, he was a professional.
Yeah.
Goddamn. Just to kind of put a little bit of his greatest hits, in his letters to Elizabeth Trowbridge, he defended, quote, the color line, which argued that racial mixing caused civilizational decline. In 1933, he wrote on Hitler and Nazism, describing Jewish culture as alien, but assimilable into, quote, Aryan cultural stream. Not less racist, just a very different type of racism.
Yeah, sure.
On Black Americans, he explicitly endorsed segregation, described Black people as biologically inferior, and wrote from letters, he argued that only pain and disaster could come from race mixing. And a lot of his stories fit this idea. In Shadow over Innsmouth, the white protagonist discovers that there's deep one ancestry and that pure humans bred with fish people, and that the hybridization was supposed to be the horror. The only thing is that while people have read all sorts of stuff into that, H.P. Lovecraft was like he was thinking about like breeding with like Italians. The Dunwich Horror and Arthur German have family tree contamination and non-human ancestors destroying their identity. Like finding out that you had an ancestor who was Italian will break your mind so much that you can't understand.
I mean, but isn't that true?
You'll go mad.
you just
just for H.P. Lovecraft himself. Like,
he turns to his brother, and his brother is now wearing a Chef Boyardee hat and has the mustache and is doing my wife's Italian. Just so I set the record straight there, and my daughter is she's got that ancestry, so I'm already Lovecraft would have.
You're
really
basically half fish person at this point.
I'm half fish person at this point.
And yeah, so like a lot of his work shows like any kind of like hybridization is corruption and taint, and that once a bloodline is polluted, it can only ever be quarantined or destroyed. Super eugenics shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, from Evan Torner's research, these mechanics then got systemized. So his racism mind then, and this is where I kind of come to connect with you guys, then people decided to make games, and people made games who liked H.P. Lovecraft stories and started to try to codify what they didn't realize was all of his eugenics and racism stuff into games. For example, the big one being the tabletop role-playing game Call of Cthulhu, which turns sanity into a form of hit points.
Yes.
Yes. Phil, you've played that one, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's just another way you can die, basically.
I have not played Call of Cthulhu, but I have played Delta Green.
Yeah. Then you it's a very similar vibe, just less super secret agent kind of. Well, they're not super in Delta Green, but secret agent kind of shit. It's although you can you have more. It's less centralized, let's say, which is a good theme for what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I reached out to Evan Torner, who does like kind of like video game research, and it talked about how like the Call of Cthulhu role playing game Having Sanity has like some eugenics baggage, but that these systems, because like, and this is the kind of thing like the people who made these systems weren't like, man, I sure love H.P. Lovecraft's racism, I'm going to try to codify that into games. But what they did is they took stuff that they wanted to evoke Lovecraft's style, or Lovecraft's stories, and recreate them, but in doing so kind of broadcast unintentional bigotry through the design of the game's mechanics itself.
Yeah, it's the, hey, this is really neat in terms of like a horror aesthetic, without necessarily considering the implication of why did Stephen King once said that horror writers write what scares them, and for H.P. Lovecraft, that was race mixing and black people. So
outside world,
and,
really,
and Italians and Jewish people and probably Catholics. So I think
they're not only fish people, they're Catholic fish people.
They're Catholic fish people.
They do like, cannibalism on Fridays.
Papist fish people.
They're papists.
Oh, God.
I could forgive the fish people, but the fact that they're papists,
no, can't do it.
That's a bridge too far.
Yeah. and the thing, I know, and we kind of talked about this because also, like, there's like H.P. Lovecraft kind of is also the founder of like one of the most significant genres of horror, and a genre of horror that has been really well engaged with by like marginalized people because it resonates with them in a way that's like that H.P. Lovecraft would have hated, but really worked. And this is kind of like the death of the author thing, where like people have gotten meaning from Lovecraft's work that means something completely different. Like I just saw this whole thing that talked about how different marginalized people or different types of people have like interpreted like cosmic horror in a different way. Like they were like, oh yeah, like white men have like when white men write cosmic horror, it's like about feeling insignificant in like a bigger universe. But like, for example, a sort of Alien was brought in as a sort of like gender version of cosmic horror about like your body being seen as just a disposable vessel for reproduction. And then you've got things like Lovecraft County, where you have, and there's like almost an entire subgenre I found while doing this research of like cosmic horror, Lovecraft inspired stuff written by Black authors who have Black Americans have a very long history of being dehumanized and feeling like, feeling helpless against a overpowering structure that doesn't see their humanity, and have engaged with it in like a very like, in their own way. And I think there's even like an old H. Bomber Guy video that talked about,
I was just thinking about that, about the movie
Shadow over Innsmouth as a sort of like queer analogy.
Yeah.
It's interesting because his fear of the other is so easily inverted for people who are othered to use, basically flipping the tropes in another way so that they can then resonate with it in new and refreshing ways. I remember one of the things that stood with me the most from Lovecraft Country was the woman played by Wunmi Masako. You find out that she's spoilers for a 7-8-year-old HBO miniseries, that she's been dead actually for a while, and that a white woman has basically been using her corpse to blend in with the other characters, and it's so unsettling. And I think it's it's an interesting explanation of a kind of fear in the Black community of that, you know, someone coming in and taking from them through blood. You know, it's a and it stood with me for a while. Is that moment in the show?
Yeah, it has that similar assimilation vibe to Sinners.
So it's and oftentimes, like, I think there's a lot of queer analogies about like how people, like, a lot of the times they like feeling like the alien that is like the corrupted, that feels like that is like outside of the things. Either way, like, to kind of like put on like Lovecraft's thing, like that Lovecraft's whole idea of cosmic meaningless was about how racial and cultural boundaries are actually more important, and that each cultural stream must be separated to keep its meaning, and that race mixing is sort of the like an existential threat. Which, one of the themes of the season is that all of these like ancient aliens topics all kind of dance around normalizing the thinking that leads to like the great replacement theory.
About to say great replacement theory sounds like you were building up to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so and yeah, it's just like a, you know, an older version of it. So like Lovecraft takes theosophy structure, you know, the idea of lost races, cyclical doom, disposable population, adds some of his racial anxiety about mixing and degeneration, and then turns it from occult cosmology to a sort of weird cosmic horror. And then that explicitly fictional writing then gets picked up by people like fucking Eric von Daniken and literally like plagiarized into claims about actual UFO contacts. And we end up with Ancient Aliens, where Ancient Aliens, when talking about Nan Madol, start talking about cyclical civilizations with catastrophic resets, lost continents like Lemuria and Mu, the apparent parent culture with a global reach, and necessary culls when the population becomes problematic. On top of that, also saying things like sunken Pacific cities as evidence, like, you know, like from Lovecraft, cyclopean architecture implying non-human builders, hybrid civilizations that fall or degenerate, and then horror at the idea of mixture and contamination.
So we go Ancient Aliens. You have a direct line of the Ancient Alien show to Chariots of the Gods by Eric von Daniken, because you got to respect the question mark in the title. To H.P. Lovecraft, to Helena Blavatsky, to the actual real fucking thing.
Right. Yeah. And then having it go back to be used. Yeah, it's there's layers to this.
Yeah.
So there's an explicit, like, Ancient Aliens strips the occult language. There's no more, you know, no more saying root races or Aryan streams, because that won't do well. Gets rid of the explicit racial slurs, but keeps all of the logic structure of it. Like, it's kind of like how Zog with the like white power movement of the 80s, where they're like, oh, Zog is not really doing well with people, and we got in a lot of trouble by saying it, so let's just change it to New World Order and use all of the same logic, but just get rid of all of the like explicit racism, and then it catches on like wildfire.
Right.
So yeah, they still talk about there being an original pure civilization with non-human guidance, that the human population were experiments, that hybridization was corruption, and that the culling was a correction. And we'll probably have to come back to Nan Madol, because I think there's an episode in season 15, and we're like in season 2, that kind of goes into it more. But the idea of making a failed, like the talking about it as a failed experiment is like a language, like explicitly like a language thing. Like, it implies that they were somehow defective, that they that it justifies some kind of abandonment or destruction, and that it was deserved rather than, you know, contingent.
I didn't know Eric von Daniken died this year.
He died like a few weeks ago. I know, because I had never understood the term blew up my phone until Eric von Daniken died, and I had received approximately 20,000 like mentions on Blue Sky and like emails and like like I knew the second it happened.
That's amazing.
Oh my God. Yeah, he died January 10th in Interlaken, Switzerland.
Wow. How old
Yeah,
was
it's,
he?
it's
90.
Jesus Christ. That's
only the good die young.
yeah.
Only the good die young. Too soon, Eric.
Oh my god.
You still had so many
90
more,
years young.
so many more
another
things
decade
to
at
teach
least.
us.
I always just think of like how when we were at the thing in Michigan in Kalamazoo for the Ancient Aliens Live that we went to, and they had Eric Von Daniken not provide a video thing, but everyone was like, yeah, I just talked to him yesterday. He's so healthy and he is so like excited for everything. And we just want to talk to you about how active and healthy he is. And
Like immediately showing their hand. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
Craig.
You know what is what's really amazing was his commitment to the blue blazer. God, I am looking at photos of Eric Von Daniken that span 60 years, and the man just constantly rocks that royal blue blazer. That
bought
is
it with the money that he embezzled from the Boy Scouts. But yeah, to kind of like bring this all full circle, yeah, like there's this line through all this stuff, but this also didn't happen in a vacuum. Like there's a reason why this narrative structure shows up in not only like this kind of stuff, but also in fascist ideology, because a lot of this stuff is very much in that zone. And so as part of this season, I talked to a professor, her name's Cortland Pippert, and she wrote a dissertation on primetime shows airing in the History Channel from 1996 to 2020.
Wow.
And she wanted to point that the entire enterprise has always been a white nationalist project from day one, not Ancient Aliens specifically, but like the History Channel.
Sure.
It wasn't.
I could believe that.
Yeah, but not because of an ideological project, but commercial logic. Here's how Pippert explained it. The channel's founders identified white men as a, quote, under-tapped television audience. And
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Sure thing.
Yep. One executive literally described their mission as making, quote, romance television for men. That was their pitch to advertisers.
That all tracks. I mean, it was just World War II all the time.
It was like, we're just gonna show things on the war that their daddies fought.
Right, right.
Yep.
World War II.
Wow. That's funny.
Well, I am approaching 40, and I know that when I turn 40, I have to choose whether to get really into World War II or smoking meat, and I haven't decided which one I want to do yet.
I went with World War One for the record. And
reminds me.
and I still intend on smoking meat.
I went with Warhammer 40K.
It reminds me. I just got in the mail today my Trench Crusade book. So
oh, there you go.
yeah, I'll be reading that later today.
Very nice.
Yeah. And that was their pitch to the advertiser. So Pippert's conclusion, apparently after, as she said to me, watching close to 1,500 hours of History Channel content,
Jesus,
was that the formula almost always leads, because when you're trying to appeal to white men, you end up almost always leading to a white nationalist narrative where white men are the victims of the non-white, non-male other. And Ancient Aliens is following in that tradition by amplifying its institutional architecture and combine that, like, your history is important and heroic, and that your way of life is under threat. And of course, the network has also platformed neo-Nazis, like with the Nostradamus effect in 2009, or KKK leaders, which complicates the sort of like, this is just for fun and entertainment.
right?
So, and it goes into the conspiracy of like this whole thing, we're seeing a pattern that is similar to like Great Replacement, the conspiracy theory that white population in Western countries are being deliberately replaced by non-white immigrants, promoted by Renaud Camus in the 2010s, but draws on older lineages like this one, that liberal, or, you know, whichever word you want to say to avoid saying Jews, are orchestrating demographic collapse, higher immigrant birth rates, and white people being bred out of existence, which is fairly similar to H.P. Lovecraft's beliefs. You know, the deep ones breeding with the humans, pure human lineages corrupted by hybrid offspring, the Innsmouth infected government raids to contain contamination, or horror at unstoppable replacement, all great replacement adjacent. And it has inspired, it inspired the murder of 10 black people at a mass shooting in Buffalo in 2022, the murder of 51 Muslim worshippers in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2019, and 23 people murdered in El Paso, Texas. All of these shooters had in their like manifestos direct references to Great Replacement.
Yeah. I mean, this is what it's become a feeder for, all sorts of. They were just fringe talking points, and now they're just mainline conservative talking points.
Yeah,
which is wild. Phil did a video years ago talking about was it in the Satanism video?
Oh, in the satanic
panic.
Yeah.
We're talking about the satanic panic, where conspiracy theories often follow similar rules to fashion, where high fashion is basically like people look at the runway, and the high fashion is, it could be out there and outlandish, but the elements of that high fashion item are actually going to be trimmed and boiled down, and they will become, I don't know, a dress that you see in Macy's. And that's kind of the same.
Yeah, it's the Cerulean speech in The Devil Wears Prada, basically.
Yeah, but it's the same thing that conspiracy theories do, right? They're outlandish, and then over time the edges get worn off, be it through the History Channel, just through the mechanisms of capitalism, and by the time you get to the end of this machine, you have people on regular news networks just saying it as if it's fact.
Yep.
And you know who I blame for this? I blame Ronald Reagan.
I think that's fair.
I mean, you're not as wrong as you think.
And he doesn't think he's that wrong, so that tells you something right there.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you guys some tools to things to push back against, because I think that in many ways this will come up in many different iterations. So first of all, when anyone describes a civilization as failed, you got to really think of like what the standards of that are.
Oh yeah. What does that even mean?
And also when civilizations mysteriously collapse, that usually means they're erasing something, because like there's very few civilizations where like their collapse is entirely unknown. Like I think of like the Bronze Age collapse, where even then like we've done a lot of work to try to figure that out. And yeah, just like talking about hybrids in any kind of derogatory way. And also there's something that's called the Walter test. If anybody tries to say something that like academic pushback is the sign that the conspiracy must be true, that's a pretty good sign that they're kind of like stuck in a mental loop there. And also just asking who benefits, is Nan Madol being kept mysterious good for grifters to sell their books and their shows, or their ideologies that need some kind of, scrubbing? And just kind of use these things over a lot of different things. And also, I kind of learned also today, like when it comes to like these kinds of creations, like for example, I learned a lot more about Pacific Islander voices in history than I did any time before this.
Oh yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, so like learn more about people like the indigenous people of Micronesia, or Polynesians in general. And then also I wanted to ask you guys about like how would you then suggest doing something like dealing with all of these Lovecraft inspired games, while understanding that not only like Lovecraft had issues, but like they're developing mechanics. Like one of the ones that came up a lot was how a lot of Lovecraft inspired media or games will have like corruption mechanics,
right?
Which is very much like the sort of like pure versus hybrid corruption thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I think when you were talking about it before, when you said that, it's not to suggest that the creators of the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game or any of the video games, it's not necessarily that they thought, ooh, this is a great metaphor for the reason that we shouldn't have sex with black people or something like that. But at the same time, having a level of curiosity and having a level of understanding and recognizing that is, I think, really important for your consumption of any media. Really, we live in a world right now where literary, what is it, media literacy, is just awful right now, and so keeping that in mind is always going to be important. And I think H.P. Lovecraft is. We mentioned the death of the author before. I think H.P. Lovecraft is a great example of death of the author because it's, as you said, his stuff doesn't really belong to him anymore. Cthulhu is everywhere. Everywhere. You got Cthulhu plushies, Cthulhu toys, Cthulhu tattoos.
My son had a Cthulhu sippy cup that we sent to his daycare.
Right. Right. And your son, like 90% of the people who love their Cthulhu memes and everything like that, has never read H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft created worlds that inspired other authors, which inspired other authors, and it becomes a copy of a copy of a copy to the point where, like the King in Yellow, the Cthulhu mythos, that sort of thing, it doesn't belong to him anymore. It's not his anymore. When you've got things like Lovecraft Country that are brilliant and work really well. But you do need to know about it. It's important to know about it so that you can just appreciate what you're reading.
And I think as far as like mechanics go for games or what have you, I think one of the important things that developers, game designers, and all that can do is just double check the themes of their work.
Yeah.
And make sure that the theme of what they're doing is not necessarily reinforcing the subtext, the original subtext of what the mechanic was based on. Because, for example, Bloodborne, obviously, huge cosmic horror, Souls-like game. It has a lot to do with the blood, fearing the old blood, and also the concept of gaining insight to you have eyes on the inside. I think one of the things Bloodborne does well is it doesn't necessarily land on a thematically that any particular side in the blood ministration storyline is ultimately correct, given that there is a number of different endings to the game. And also Miyazaki games tend to be kind of inscrutable in a certain way where it's like, you could assign any number of readings. But I think for things that are more explicit in the text, people have to make sure that text that they are generating doesn't also say, oh, and also blood mixing, race mixing is also bad accidentally.
Right.
I guess I should to kind of elaborate because I realize that this might be some people's first interaction with the term death of the author, and it kind of shows how the idea, I wanted to kind of get across because it shows how when you put something out in the world, you have, in some ways, there's more and less of a burden in different ways. So death of the author is sort of this idea that when it comes to engaging with fiction of any kind, that the important part of it has nothing to do with the author, and it has everything to do with the reader and the text. And that means that, for example here, Lovecraft had these horrible ideas. He wrote stuff inspired by those horrible ideas, but then people with different life experiences read the exact same text that he wrote and took completely different things from it and made their own inspirations that are genuinely enriching and have led to the development of culture. At the same time, it also means that when you are putting things out there in the world, you have to realize that not everyone is going to read the stuff that you make from the same point of view and might take away different interpretations that you probably should be aware of in different ways when you make stuff, because sometimes you can accidentally recreate bad ideas.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, totally.
One more example of the mechanics thing that I think is really interesting. My favorite role playing game going back forever has always been Vampire the Masquerade and Vampire the Dark Ages, which has it's very spooky, gothic, romantic emo shit. It's a lot of fun, politics and that kind of thing. And there are a bunch of different vampire clans. And they all have different reputations and specialties. And the one that I liked the most when I was first starting playing in high school was called Malkavian. The Malkavian clan was the clan of insanity. And your flaw, because every vampire clan had a flaw, was you had to choose some form of insanity that you suffered from. And in early texts, that they would literally say, is your character schizophrenic, or is your character extremely depressed, or like it had all kinds of things that were real life conditions, and using it as this marker for a game, and in recent years, well, not even in recent years, in like the last decade or two, the shift has gone away from that into how the Malkavians kind of they have a special insight into the world. It goes into a more cosmic horror kind of direction, the stars and the unknowables of the universe and that sort of thing. And it's moving away from just generally, well, they're crazy. And they did a similar thing with a clan that was based on Romani, very explicitly. And now they have learned more about that culture, and now it has more of an Indian background to it, and that's just the evolution of this kind of thing. And to add to your list of things to watch out for, if someone bitches too hard about that shit, watch out. That's that could be a big ass red flag too.
Right.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap it up at the end of the day, like, Nan Madol is really cool. Pohnpeian history is neat. And like H.P. Lovecraft, when he was talking about unknowable things that would break your brain to behold, he was talking about pizza. And that's where I think that will kind of branch off. But why don't you, if people really loved the energy that you two were putting out, and they thought, man, I really want to know what these people think about the Mortal Kombat novels, where would they go?
Yeah, so the best place to find us is you go into your favorite podcast app and you search for Pixel-Lit, and we'll be right there. You could also go to pixellitpod.com, which, that takes us to our Patreon page, pixellitpod.com, patreon.com/pixellitpod. I snuck a Patreon. See, Phil, that's how good I am.
You're very good.
Is I sneak our Patreon into other people's podcasts.
Tristan, he is very good at this. I don't know if you noticed.
Always be Patreon.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense. And of course, we're going to be back. We're going to be back next week, I believe. I'm just going to do a real quick look up because I am recording all the episodes of this season out of order. So I don't have like a direct line of like, oh, what's next week and what's the fourth. But next week we're going to learn about. Oh, right. I'm going to meet up with my friend Sophie, and we're going to talk about Leonardo da Vinci and his quote-unquote secret workshop.
Oh, boy.
That's going to be a fun one. That's a really good one. So if you want to check that out, you can follow us on Bluesky, which is @ProbsNotAliens. And of course, now both Scott and I have wee children, wee babies that watching our content puts food in their faces. So if you want to check out NerdSync, NERDSYNC, check out Scott's videos. They're very good. And my channel, which should have content by this point, Step Back, also fun stuff. And of course, this show is on Nebula. If you sign up for Nebula, but nebula.tv/probablyNotAliens, and you sign up, we get credit for that. And you get episodes a week early, and you get a bonus Q&A episode at the end of the season. Or if you want to support in a more direct way, help with editing and equipment, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/ProbsNotAliens, which we, again, It's primarily for gear and for paying our editors, and then everything else is secondary. And if you don't want to spend money, which makes sense because shit's hard right now, you can go to you can leave a review on the podcast apps, or tell your friends or enemies. And the place that how does Scott do this every week? The place that you can send them to is probsnotaliens.com. Ooh, all right.
You did good.
That is all for now.
Hell yeah.
So until next time, I'm Tristan Johnson.
I'm not Scott. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Phil Keeling as the Beaver. And the truth is out there.
Or is it?
You say you have to pause an ellipsis and then say probably.
Oh fuck! God damn it! All right, you're right. I failed.
Well, now this is in the cut.
No, the right. I think a confused right actually represents me better than anything else. It's a bit off brand, but yeah.
It's this, it's the Kirkland's Costco Scott.
That is actually I will take that.